group now. Sorry, Riz. Back to you.
Go ahead. I need to rewind.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. All's good. So, let's go. Welcome on board. Looking forward to hearing more of you in the upcoming weeks.
Thanks, Riz.
So next.
And Shubha is next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Subha. Great to be back after a short break. Yeah, but it was a well-deserved break. And hi, that's all.
Shubha, you're a new mom or?
Yeah, I just got a daughter. She's like 1 year old this year.
Okay,
So
congratulations.
Challenging.
Yeah.
Not easy.
True. I have 11-year-old boy, but I can't offer any advice. Maybe Monica can.
Yeah, she did help me. She knows my situation.
Right. Yeah. That's lovely to hear. Yeah, and great that you guys are helping out each other. That's wonderful to hear. Thanks, Shubha. Good to see you again. And next on my screen is Sanjay.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone's faces again. Hello, Tesco, and welcome to the this cohort. What can I say? Last subject. Can't wait till it's done, but equally going to be sad to be leaving too. But yeah, everyone's got my WhatsApp. Most people have got my Facebook and my LinkedIn as well. So we'll definitely keep in touch as we go.
Lovely. And Sanjay's in Canberra. Shubha's in Singapore. Reese is in Singapore. Next on my screen, Shen Yi.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Shen Yi. You can call me Shane as well. I'm also based in Singapore. Good to be back as well, and good to see all of your faces. Been quite a while since I last saw you all, but yeah, fond memories for the past semester.
You miss us?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great to hear. That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, it's always the friendships. Especially in the university, it's different when it's virtual, but I guess it's something we need to get used to, developing friendships virtually. I mean, they've done that in the dating service. I'm sure. It's about time we caught up.
Yeah, a lot of successful marriage coming from that.
Yeah, exactly. I think they've had like a decades head start compared to us. Welcome back, Shane. Good to hear your feedback and
Thank you.
experience. And next on my screen is William.
Hi, everyone. Good to be back. And I'm in Singapore and self-employed. Everybody knows about me, so nothing much to say.
Yeah, but Tesco also has a very interesting career, which I hope he'll share a little bit about. So William and Shubha used to be in the Singapore military. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, William. Good to have you back. Monica, next on my screen.
Yes, great to see some faces again. Welcome, Tesco. I'm much like Sanjay and Paul and May, who's not here today. We've finished all our units and about to embark on our final project, the Capstone project, which is very exciting. So yeah, you'll enjoy the course. You'll get a lot out of it. So I'm based in Perth, the lovely Perth.
Thank you, Monica. And next on my screen is Desmond.
Hey, Tesco. Nice to meet you. I'm Desmond Yo, also based in Singapore. We've got a great lecturer, Dr. Greg here. I'm sure the sessions or the course will be absolutely wonderful and fun, right? Got a bunch of fun-loving classmates willing to help each other out. It's been a wonderful journey for me so far and for many of my colleagues too over here, right? Many of my classmates. Well, ping me if you need to know anything about myself or the course. Very glad to have a chat with you about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Desmond. That wonderful. Yeah. Monica and May helped out at the orientation. Paul also offered to help just had to reschedule his some. But yeah, it's something that I really want to really work on this year onwards, or is for the alumni or the most sort of senior students to work more closely with the newer students, help them out. If this is not integral to leadership, extending a helping hand without being asked to, simply by recognizing that this is the right thing to do. I think that's what a good leader is, the ability to recognize that someone is struggling, and then lending the right amount of support at the right time. Not spoon feeding, not holding hands, but just the right level of intervention to support someone in need. So, and again, we will also learn. The great thing about this program in particular, but I think anywhere in life, is that when you assist someone, I think you also learn in the process. You learn. It's just the nature of things, in my view. So thank you, Desmond, for highlighting that right at the front. And I'm sure all of you, Des, Reese, have also said that, Shane has, but thank you. Paul.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, good evening, everybody. Hey, Tesco. I'm Paul. I'm based in Singapore, but from the best city in the world, which is Manchester.
United.
Yeah.
That's negotiable.
I mean, I'll put Singapore fairly close second there. Perth not
right answer,
a bit further down the list, my friend.
Careful now.
They're coming after you, Paul.
All right, I'm keeping Greg on side. We've got a Manchester United fan in my midst, so, and a good start to the season, not too bad. So, but yeah, back on task. I'm an arts manager, arts leader in Singapore, and yeah, I'm on my final unit. I'm really excited about this project because we've got a client that we're really excited to work with as well. So bringing all the learning together, which has been intense but dynamic and really useful. I'm excited to bring that together on a project that's hopefully quite meaningful as well. So yeah, good to see you all and welcome, Tesco.
Thank you, Paul. And Tesco, over to you to introduce yourself. Tesco.
Oh, sorry, I was talking with the mute on. I'm trying to get my cameras on. I'm not quite sure if I can use the camera on my phone. Can you guys see me?
So we have two T's. I suppose
Yes.
one is but I can't. Yeah, no video or no visual. Sorry.
What about now? Can you see me now?
Still, unfortunately, not.
Because
don't worry, Tesco.
Oh,
don't worry. Just introduce yourself. Maybe as we go along, if you can work it out, that'll be good. But don't worry for today.
All right. So my name is Tesco. I'm based in Hong Kong, and I work as a sort of like security industry, but mainly focus on the close protection for like VIP, that kind of stuff. And this is my first semester, and I have no idea what am I gonna do. And I was doing my film and video bachelor degree back in ECU in 2011. Yeah, and then I returned to Hong Kong in 2014.
Okay. And any exciting stories from your career?
Yeah, quite a lot. Like the clients went to a wrong place, and he got off the car, and the VIP car drove away, and he got so mad at me because nobody mentioned about the location, and he thought that was the meeting in that building. So he was so mad at me, and I had to find a solution for him to get to the next venue, or the correct venue. So I just waved at a taxi, and then we got on a taxi, and I just pay him like about like 4 times of the taxi fare just to get there on time.
My goodness, my goodness.
Yeah,
That's
and yeah, so many
dedication.
funny stuff, like he got drunk and had argument with some random people.
Oh.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think of Hong Kong's? Who are these VIPs normally that you need
They're,
to?
the rich property family. Like there are 4 main family in Hong Kong. The are 2 Lee's family, the Quartz family, and the other one, the 4th one, I think is Ho's family, Ho's family. Yeah, 4 of them, and they are the 4 foundation of the land developer in Hong Kong.
Okay. Are they nice people?
Depends.
Depends. Okay. Since it's recorded, we won't go further. I don't want to get you into any trouble. Okay. So good to have, again, really great to see all of you guys. And congratulations to those who have completed the top units and now on to your capstone, and for those who are exploring this unit. So I'll do a very, how do I say, I will go to the basics, because this will be recorded for others who are not here today. So bear with me, and also ask any question, because I'm quite sure these are also questions that other students may be thinking of. So we start with the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of country, the Aboriginal people of the many lands that we work on, and their language groups throughout Western Australia, and recognize their continuing connection to the land and waters. We respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of our region, and we pay our respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Thank you. Okay. So I've called this sort of a 639 orientation. So what I'll cover here is sort of an introduction to the unit. Some of you may already be familiar with it. But for those who are not familiar, sort of a basic idea of what the unit is about. And I hope to spend a bit more time on the research aspect of it, because that's sort of the crux. 639 really is, can you do business research within a constrained period of time, within a constrained period? Okay, so upfront, I will say how. So this is the only unit that has a prerequisite. Okay, you must have completed 6 units, either in this program or with advanced standing. If you have advanced standing, complete 6 units, and only then you can enroll into this unit. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to enroll. There are other soft conditions, which I'll come to in a minute. Those are conditions which, even if you don't fulfill, you can still enroll, but you take the risk when you enroll without satisfying those conditions. So right up front, and this is where Tesco has done the right thing. And we'll ask, it's great that we have a good group of students here who could answer some or provide real good tips on get a team, get a client, get a question. Tesco, can see you now. Cool, but can't hear you. But it's okay, you're muted. That's all right.
Oh, all right. I forgot.
Oh,
yeah.
great, well done. So you're a techie. That's good. So as soon as you can, make friends, get a team, and then together with your friends, try to find a client, and then start working on the research question. So that's like, I would recommend you to start that, anyone to start that immediately, or at least start the process going. So what some of the things that, here are the things that we will discuss, but which you need to be doing, and some of that is the soft constraints. So team selection. So we will discuss that, and the group, and there is a group here. I'd like to hear your experience around this. Client selection, project selection. Then we'll look into the project documents, research framework, the role of the academic advisor. Have a look at the rubrics, especially how it links to the research framework. And then we can have a sort of formal discussion, Q&A. But as you all know, you're most welcome to jump in anytime, either with an observation, a question, or a comment. So essentially, what are we trying to do here is sort of the big thing is, as you know, when we researched this program, what we heard from the industry was that one of their biggest challenge was, or their biggest challenge are all around soft skills. You know, the ability for capable people or highly competent people to be able to work together, either with people who are not so competent or other very competent people who may have very strong views. And then ability to work different genders, different ethnicities, different jurisdictions, different national cultures, and so forth. So all around soft skills, like, you know, how do you, when you are under pressure, how are you able to work together? Okay, so you bring your knowledge from the program, and of course your own knowledge. You work independently. So this is a unit where, you know, there are some parameters, but they are fluid. So it's how you set those, how you scope it, set the parameters. You will be provided an academic advisor who sort of guides you. It's not their role to, I mean, they might correct you if there are fundamental errors, but the whole idea of this program is, for this unit, is to be able to tell an external party that I have done this program, this unit by myself, with my peers, 2 or 3 others. We've done this ourselves. We are competent because we've done this ourselves. That's the whole idea. And the background to this is, again, coming from industry, he said, yeah, great that they have an MBA or an executive master's, but what do my peers in industry think about the work that they have done? So if some of you want a letter to say from the client, right, so and so have done this project together with these other people, they were competent, they were able to deliver recommendations, or they were able to diagnose the issues, an issue that I had not foreseen, and provided a recommendation on potentially how to solve that issue. So this is coming from a client, and often that's gold in itself. Or if a client writes to you and said, it's fantastic what you have done, we truly appreciate it. So this is sort of an industry validation of your competency above the accreditation that the university gives you. That's the additional. So the academic advisor, I mean, most of them go beyond. So it's 4 hours. They're supposed to spend 4 hours with you. Most of them spend more than 4 hours to guide you. So you have to use their time also strategically, so that you know optimally. How do you use? And this is also practice. How do you use an expert, someone who is an expert, optimally the information? And for those of you who have done the 638. You have some practice, like what should I do myself to find the gaps so that I ask the right questions and I don't look silly asking very basic questions to the client. Yeah. So this is the sort of the big picture learning outcomes. Okay. So if you're selecting a team, the kind of skill sets the team should have, and we'll come to that in a minute. But ideally, the team should have the capabilities to solve the kind of question that you're thinking of. You know, you probably don't want to take on a question that is too difficult or outside of your skill set, or what the program has offered is insufficient, and that's very possible, because there are many issues that you cannot solve within 8 to 10 weeks. Okay, so choose a question not too simple that it's trivial, and you know it's not of value to the client, but not so difficult that you know you disappoint the client and you disappoint yourself. We also, this is also an assessment, so we don't want you to fail either. All right, so finding that right one, and I will work with you in scoping that question. Okay, so the big if you want to use numbers, you should be spending 300 hours on this project individually. So if you are a team of 3, it's about 900 hours. You have a team of 4, which is the max, 1,200 hours. Okay, so about 1,000 hours, give or take a little bit more, right? And you should be able to produce something of good quality in 9,000 words. Okay, or when you write it up, it's 9,000 words. Of course, what you present to the client is a 15 to 20 minutes presentation and a 1,000-word summary, which if you have if you're used to the units, and especially 638, you would have developed the skill set around that. Okay, so feel free to jump in and ask questions. Okay, now, officially, you finish the project in a trimester, like every other unit. You finish it within a trimester. Now, through experience, we find that's difficult. It's not impossible. There have been 1 or 2 groups that have managed that. But generally, the experience has been you need more than 12 weeks or 14 weeks. So that's why the idea that you start thinking about it, getting your team sort of having a scope, a draft of the research client and the project that you want before. And my recommendation is to finish up to the research plan before enrolling. Because it can be challenging if you want to do, because the research plan, research methodology is in my view, the most difficult part. Once you get that, okay, then it's okay. So just implementing it, and that's manageable. But getting the research methodology plan method and plan out is can be a challenge. Okay. Now, if there were phases or stages to the consult, so the 639 is a a capstone consulting process. So your team is a group of pro bono consultants, your consultants, the client, this organization that you've selected, you work with the client to identify a challenge he is facing, and you scope a research question, and you provide a solution. So now, if you were to do this in a trimester, you should have completed, let's say if you are enrolled in this trimester, you should have done a team charter. You should have a scope, a proposal. So what is this project about? And there are documents. We have template documents for all of that. You should have a draft, either a project and research management plan or just a research management plan. And then you should have the presentation, okay, the consulting proposal. If you've got this, done, you're in good, like you're in a good space to then just deliver it. So when you get into the unit, it's just a matter of implementation. So you finalize the team charter, you finalize the scope, you finalize the document and agreement. So there is an agreement that you have to do with the client so that everyone is clear on the deliverable. That's just basic consulting, but also important for your assessment to show or to show the examiner, this is the research question and these are the deliverables, so that the examiner knows clearly what you're trying to do. Project research management plan, consulting proposal presentation, now all finalized. Okay, and then after that, it's just a matter of doing the research, making corrections, deliver on assessment 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, assessment 1 is an individual research. So if you're a team of 4, you break up and you need to show all of this. What is team member 1 doing? What is team member 2 doing? Team member 3 doing? And then how it integrates how it corresponds to the research plan. Assessment 2 is the big final report where you synthesize assessment 1, the key points, and then assessment 2 is whatever further research that you do, and we'll come to that, diagnostics, analysis, recommendation. So assessment 2 is the big one, final report, which is a group work. Assessment 3 is presentation, is also a group work, and you present to the client. Now, what you present to the client need not be the final report, okay? And we have some experience where sometimes you do not present completely what you have done in your final report. The assessments are for the university. It will be, no one can see it. Okay, no one will have the right to see it. If the client wants it, he has to write in, and then, so there are legal issues about, in the first instance, about any assessment being made public. That's just the way the university works. Now, on top of that, you will sign a non-disclosure agreement with the client, basically to say the students will not use this information or make this information public. Now, sometimes the client also gives their own non-disclosure agreement, which is fine with us. But by definition, no assessment is made public, and you, at the pains of a legal penalty, if you make any of those findings public in any way or form. Okay, so give you an example. we had a group that looked at one of the largest engineering firms in WA on their inclusivity of bringing women, or how to say, helping make the company inclusive, in particular to women, indigenous people and so forth, but their focus was women. So the particular individual who led this project and who works for that company is a senior person, a woman, and not surprising, found that the company failed in quite a number of areas. And this is where your skills come in. She presented informally to a group of senior leaders, and I think that was they had that requirement, I think, and where they said, look, we don't want these things mentioned. That's fine. So in the assessment, all of these issues are highlighted, and so it was a good analysis. But when they presented to the senior leaders, they dropped all those findings, or some of those findings, which is perfectly acceptable, because ultimately the client, you deliver onto the client's need. Now, I just recently observed another group that in their presentation, the client refused or did not accept their recommendation. So after the session, I had a chat with them. I said, how did this happen? Did you have a chat with them? So they said, yeah, the client actually had already indicated he's not keen with what they are recommending and asked something else. And I said, did you look at that? No, I said, no, because the data didn't support that. I said, sure, the data don't support it, but if the client asks you to do something, yeah, you said, okay, option one, the data says this, but client says this, let's investigate this further and find some conclusion to that. Because what happened in the presentation was the client said, what if I reject or refuse your recommendation and ask you to look this? And, so they provided an academic answer, but they didn't answer what the client wanted. So it was a good presentation and a really good report. I would say one of the best I've seen, but failed to deliver on what the client wanted. So, as a consultant, or even if you're working in your organization, if the boss says, I want this, and your finding comes up with this, what is the clever thing to do? They meet the boss outside a formal setting and say, boss, look, you asked us to look into this. This is what I found. What do you think? Okay. Preempt a solution where you challenge the boss, unless that's what you intend to do, then that's a different matter. But yeah, so this is a skill that you don't allow things to come in from left field, as they say. So before presenting, make sure you have let the client know this is what. So keep the client informed. Don't exhaust him or her, but keep him informed of your how you're progressing. Okay. So Mel, I'm sure you remember Melanie Ricketts. Anyone remember? So Mel's team had, so they literally schedule, I think every Friday, and then they would, so the client would say, okay, this Friday we can't meet, or Mel will say, look, we've not progressed. Mel's team will say we haven't progressed further, so no need to meet. But they literally blocked off every Friday. Which brings me to an important point that I failed to mention. in looking for a client, who do you meet? You need to meet someone who is sufficiently senior, whose views the organization is going to follow. Because not so much the recommendation, but if you need access to information and personnel to chat with, so the person who you're talking to must be able to say that, okay, I'm going to allocate so and so as your liaison or our organization's contact person. You can contact him or her for any information that you need. I will be available at so and so time. Okay, so you need to make sure that whoever your contact in the organization is of sufficient seniority. Okay, otherwise you'll be struggling with your project. Okay, so for assessment's sake, you need to do a proper research, with the causality and all its outcomes. No censoring. But when you present, have a chat with the client beforehand. So what do you want to be made public? What do you want to, if that situation arises? Okay. So it depends on your research question also, or even if it's not something, just if the client has a different view of what, from what you have a chat with him or her before doing the presentation. Okay. Okay. Now the project documents, team charter. Okay. You don't need to get it approved by me. But yeah, Basecamp. So okay, I'll show Basecamp in a minute. Basically, the role of the team charter is an agreement among team members on how you're going to do your work. Okay, and the team charter is useful if it's a team that you've just met. But if you guys have been together in so many other units, you would have developed a cohesion that perhaps a team charter is not necessary. But the role of the team charter is, yes, it's a way of getting agreement, setting expectation of team members. But it's also in the case where the team breaks down, which has happened, then the team charter is something that I will look at to as part of my consideration around who didn't do what. So the team charter is a basis for evaluation in the let's hope it doesn't happen, but if there is a dispute or grievance around members not doing their part, so the team charter is one avenue. Again, get it approved here basically means, hey Greg, can we have a chat? Right? Or here's Greg, here's the draft. Can we meet in a week's time or in a couple of days to hear your views about it? Okay. That's so so the whole idea is at every step of the way, you don't go so far ahead that if there is an error, it's too costly or time wise or resource wise to retract back. So through this approach, we hope that we preempt like a very costly, especially in time, because you've got a very small window to complete the project. Okay. Now, so assessment one, is the preliminary research report, which is done individually. Assessment 2 is the final consultancy report. Okay, so an important how do I say, a document is your project consulting proposal A5. If you get that right, you know, you've pretty much got the project on track or on the right track. So this is just a guide of the project proposal. You can have your own approach, but I'm looking for certain things in it, and everyone here, with the exception of Tesco, will know of the McKinsey Minto approach to our research. So don't worry, Tesco, if a lot of jargons, you'll get used to it soon. So it's always the situation, the complication, and then the research question. We start by asking open questions, and then at a particular time, and as we pivot, and then we find the answer. So SCQA. Okay, so in the first instance, the proposal you should already be able to say, here's the organization, here's the situation, here's the challenge. This is a research question. Okay, and the better you do this, the greater the clarity further down the road. Okay, so I'm again, all of this comes from McKinsey, and I'm a big believer that the better you are able to say what you're going to do, the greater the chance that you'll be able to do it. And if something should break down, you'll know where exactly it's broken down and why. Is it because you didn't do it correctly, or you didn't expect that to happen? You did it, but you didn't expect that response or outcome. Okay, so just, you know, you can use your own approach, but the greater clarity, the better. This also helps your academic advisor, and it also helps the examiner. So all of this, so in your final report, there's a whole chunk of marks for project management. So they'll be looking at Basecamp to see how did these guys, if Basecamp is empty, okay, and so this is all when things don't go as planned. Like if you do a fantastic research, you don't do any of this, that's fine, no problem. The examiner looks at assessment 1, brilliant. Looks at assessment 2, brilliant. Assessment 3, brilliant. Okay, don't have to look at anything else. No need team charter, no need, everything is. But in the event, if things are not clear in your assessment, say, okay, go down to the source documents and say, okay, what's happening here? Okay, all right. Okay, and then in the worst instance, which I've had one unfortunate, or two, I think, two unfortunate experiences, there dispute around who is supposed to do what. Okay, then go through the documents and sort of find some resolution around it. Okay, so if you now, so it also depends on your client. I used to work in a consultancy in Malaysia. This was par for the course. The client needs to know. Basically, one is to reassure the client that we know what we're doing, and we're going to deliver within this time. Often, especially, we did a lot of government work for government. They never follow the they won't follow this. But we need to show that we have a plan. All right. So a good group, a good consultant or a good team of consultants would be able to show all of this. Okay. So we want you to help to set this as a standard. Okay, key deliverables, which if the client is asking for certain things, yep. But also when is assessment 1 due, assessment 2 due, assessment 3 due. Okay, so that the examiner also can plan on when to mark, when to give the feedback, and so forth. Okay, and this unit is critical. Unlike other units, especially my units, where I don't mark you all right till the end and still don't mark some of the units. This unit, especially assessment 1, you need the examiner's feedback before you go. Or of course, you continue working with assessment 2, but you need the examiner's feedback to do assessment 2, and it's duty bound. So I've been an examiner for this. This is the only unit I deliver the marking on time. This is the only unit. If 5 days, 10 days, you definitely. So you need to give the examiner 10 working days. Between A1 and A2. The others, it's all right, but A1 and A2, you need to give 10 working days. This is crucial, so that you get the feedback from the examiner. Because if the examiner says, look, you've not addressed these issues, and you don't get the feedback, then it's unfair on the group if it's not incorporated into the final report. But you should also give the examiner 10 working days, which is the sort of standard, the minimum in the university policy for an examiner to turn around an assessment. Okay, so that's a key point. Between A1 and A2, make sure you incorporate the feedback from the examiner. Okay, so this is how it would look like. As I mentioned, if you if the pre-work you've done up to the research management plan and you've done it well, this should be a breeze, or you'll have a more enjoyable, because it's a 9,000 word. So assessment 1 is 2,000 words individually, and then assessment 2, 9,000 words collectively as a group. Okay. Okay. So this is still I'm talking points for the students, but this is all still the proposal. That all of this is what you're going to present to the client. Okay. So these are documents that you should have, but it can all be packed into document 5, which is the a proposal. Okay. So what are you going to do in phase 1? Activities, deliverables. What are you going to do in phase 2? What are you going to do in phase 3? Okay. And then the second part. Now, how detailed you are, I leave that to you. But part of the team charter, and perhaps it would be good if you have it in your proposal. Team member 1, who's an expert in this, is the lead person. He or she will be taking charge of this. Team member 2, who's an expert in this area, will be leading this. Team member 3, so forth. And then this translates into the individual research. Okay, so team member 1 who was leading this is writing up about this. Team member 2 is writing up about this. Team member 3 is writing up about this. Okay. Okay, now, so this is not in the proposal, not in the proposal. This is for us. Yep, so have a read about the unit guide. If you're not sure, as always, check. And again, the big idea always around this is how have you organized the argument? Okay, and then the Minto pyramid is the best way. Can we see the causality from the research question to your answers? Okay, the research question, diagnostics, analysis to your answers with the evidence. Okay. Document your processes and your activities in Basecamp. So that gives us, in the event something goes south, if you've been doing good work, and it's reflected in the Basecamp, say, okay, yeah, these guys actually have been doing the right thing, but for some reason or other, it's some parts didn't go right. But so we give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, any questions up to here? So this is sort of the overview of the unit. Are we all good? Okay, cool. Feel free to.
I have a question. Sorry, Greg, it's Monica.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
do we create our own templates, or do you send those templates for us to complete for A1 to A?
Yeah,
whatever?
so we have a set of templates which I can happy to share them with you. Anyone, yeah.
Yes.
But if you think, again, as you know, especially there's a group of you guys who are just really good at PowerPoints, and so if you come up with something better, that's great. I mean, I'll be most delighted.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
So this is like a minimum standard. It is not the standard. It's just a minimum standard.
Thank you.
Cheers. Good question. Okay, the research framework. Most of you should be familiar. Oh, I think all of you should be familiar, of course, with exception of text. Okay, so we come back to. I'm not sure why I put that imagery next to the pyramid principle, but it's the SCQA, because this is it's a mix between academic research and business research. So there is an element of academia, which I'll come through. But ultimately it is a business research, okay? And we've chosen a particular way of doing it. So key concepts around it is the pyramid principle, SCQA, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, and when we present it, points the findings first and then the explanation. Okay, so I've just mentioned that it's a combination of private sector consulting and academic business research. Okay, so maybe I can, since we have a group here that's already done. Do you guys mind if we used, Paul, your team, sort of an example as we talk around this? Would you guys be okay with that?
Yeah, no worries. No objections. Huh?
Yeah. So the key here is, in the first instance, so it's identify, solve, and then demonstrate. So identify an issue. Then through the research process identifies the issue and solves it, and then we present it. Yeah, we demonstrate, we present how we have done this. So Paul and team, I think you guys have already covered the identify. I've completed in some ways the identify part.
Yeah, we have an idea of it. Yeah, we're just in the process of structuring that. But yeah, we've identified our client's the fair circus in Cambodia, and so yeah, I mean, we need to go into a little more detail. But we're looking that they're going for a series of it's a tourist spot. They're reliant on tourism, and of course, tourism isn't happening in anywhere, and certainly not in Cambodia. And so yeah, we've been given a keynote by our client, and we've identified some areas of key concerns, and now we're in the process of structuring that.
Okay, cool. And are you all comfortable to share on how this process took place? Like maybe like how did you all? So Desmond, Reese, and Shenyi, are you all in a group? Shubha and William, are you all in a group, or you're just here to hear about the orientation about 639?
We are here
Most of us are here to listen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. That's fine. Okay, so Tex, you got friends.
Okay, so how many people in one group?
Okay, we'll come to that. What I mean is you're not alone, Tex. So
right.
only Monica, Paul, Sanjay, and Maya, who is not here, are in a group, and they are enrolled. They are going to do this unit this trimester. They've done early work already, so I'm using them as an example, so that you have an actual reference point to think about. So as I walk through, maybe I can ask sort of some key questions. So how did you guys decide that you wanted to form a group? This is to Paul, Monica, and Sanjay.
Ooh, forced together, I think. No, I suppose my understanding of it is we've all worked with each other at different points and across different units. We all got a sense of how each other work, not necessarily all together, but working across the different presentations. And I think we slowly but surely started to identify certain strengths in understanding how someone can kind of be structured and keep us to time. Some of the people are great at clarifying writing, so making sure the points are clear. Others are really creative at the PowerPoints and the designing. Others have got that good client relation connection and good at pulling the team together. So we identified that and felt that each of us brought a good amount of that to the table.
Who took the initiative? Who said, look, let's work together as a team?
Oh, what did Monica?
Oh, yeah, it was a few of us. It was actually almost like done in synergy almost. It was really good. And I think the good thing is, we have completed all the units as well, and we've worked with each other and we've identified each other's strengths, and it's almost like it was a light bulb moment going, plus we've all finished the units. So it was, let's see who's finished the units, and it was us as a group. It was almost like, it just happened.
So one of the so there was some convergence, but what I found like really interesting about your group is that I think earlier this year, or you came up quite early to say we will do this unit in T3, but we'll start slowly doing it now. So that your team is one of the few teams that had this really long, which is a good thing, a good lead time. Yeah. So I think, and that's important in the team, because unless all of you agree to do it in a particular trimester, you're not going to be able to work as a team, because all of you have to enroll at the same time. So have a And then I've seen, you all know Harshini. So that's also another fantastic example where, you know, 2 team members agreed to postpone their enrollment to enable a 3rd member to join them at an, in an opportune time. So having the team, one is that complementary skill set. Can you guys get along? The chemistry. So one is chemistry. Can we actually get along? 2, complementary skill sets. And then 3, the sort of just the timeline, because we're all different people with different lives, but can we coordinate to be able to do this at the same time? So that and when that comes together, it's fantastic. So that's one. So Paul, I presume you were the one who had the contact.
Yeah. So I don't know the contact so well, but I visited there previously and knew that they'd be an interesting client actually at this stage. And because I come from a not-for-profit art sector, I felt that there was an opportunity for us to lend our skill set to something that to a company in a situation that genuinely might need it, and we can apply it. So I think I spoke to you briefly, Greg, about that, and kind of, some companies are a little slightly more hypothetical and they're happy to help you out, whereas we felt with this company it would be a little bit more more reality and actually very actionable for them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, so I think this is, there have been several small SMEs that have liked or appreciated the work of the consulting project. Some of the big companies have done that for internal purposes, sort of a, how do you say, a pro bono, someone with no vested interest having a look at them. But yeah, you're right, this could be, I hope, I'm hoping something really productive comes about it, but for 2 reasons. One, it will be a fantastic achievement for this organization to have an expert, because Paul, you're from the same, almost the same industry. Yep. And yeah, it will be a badge of honor for you guys, but also for the university. Like I'll be super thrilled if something comes out of this. So just to summarize, so one of you have to have that really deep insight into, or all 3 or all 4, even better, but one of you really have to be an expert in that particular industry. Okay, that would be ideal. Now you can, there have been projects when they were not experts and where that company just wanted someone outside to have a look at it, look at what they are doing. That's also been that case. But I think, and this is very important, most of the organizations often know the issue. Okay, they know the issue. So if your research is spending 90% of your time, I've said this before, on helping them identify the issue, you're not using their time and your time well. The 90% of time should be spent on providing the solution, okay, or providing the recommendation. 10%, okay, what are the issues? Desktop research, but also talk to them, okay? Very quickly identify what is the key issue, which then becomes your research question. And then the 90% of the time is, okay, how can we provide, some 1 or 2 recommendations around that. So that would be fantastic for the client, fantastic for all of you, okay? And then as a university, we've done our part. We've
enable knowledge to be deployed to very productive purposes. Okay, so prior to coming into enrolling, you should have already been able to do the identify part. You should have a strategy around how you solve it. That's the research framework. And then once you get into when you enroll into the trimester, that's the solving part is where you are doing, and the presenting, the demonstrating part. So solve and demonstrate happens in the trimester. The identify, ideally at least 40 to 50% should have already been done prior to enrolling. Okay, so yeah, so the identifying which you have been doing, of course it will not be perfect, and you will perfect it or fine tune it when you enroll. But the big questions again, so if yep, Cambodia, already very challenging place at the best of times. What's happening now? Okay, so what's the situation now? Okay. And so that's like the baseline. Here's the situation. We'll come to an example, and perhaps we can use Paul, Monica, and Sanjay's example. So then the complication. So here, given this baseline, what's the problem? Okay, is there something to achieve? And that becomes the question. Okay, how do we achieve this or address this problem? Okay, so that's at its most basic, the SCQ. And then when you find the answer, that's your recommendation. So have a go at this. Any one of you, Sanjay, anyone of the team members, Sanjay, Monica, or Paul. So here is a battery manufacturer is reporting a decline in revenues, although its batteries are the best in its category. How would you, contextualize this case in 3 sentences or 4 sentences? Have a go. Don't doesn't matter. So Paul, perhaps is it a decline in revenue, a collapse in revenue?
For our client?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, massively, almost completely stopped. Yeah.
And again, I'm just this thing again. I'm not. How do I say? I do not know as much as you do. So I'm just going to ask a series of questions. And is the expectation of the client is that you are able to provide 1 or 2 recommendations for some form of revenue or income stream?
Yeah, we're heading that way. So how do we? I think what we're trying to establish is how do we? In all honesty, it's the business model's broken, and we need to find a new way to reroute that business model to offer a recommendation.
Okay, well done. So pre-COVID business model A, not bad. Perhaps generating surplus, and you'll do this as your diagnostics. Done. Oh, okay, no problem. COVID comes in, this business model no longer works. Now, what we still want to provide this service because there is a demand for it, or there is good in it. What's the new business model? Yeah. Okay. Great. So so if you are able to say that in 3 sentences, means you've so this is for whoever who's listening later on. So make sure you're able to do this. What's the issue? okay? And then how do we address it? Okay, so upfront, you should be able to do this. Then you're on the right track. If you're not able to contextualize it in 3 sentences, you know, and we've had experience, and it's okay. So it's an iterative process. Try once, try twice, try 3 times. Okay, that's fine. And we've had cases. I think this is what the issue is. I think this is what the client wants. I think this is the. So then, verbalize, critique, come up with a new statement, verbalize, critique, come up until, yep, this is exactly what the client wants. This is what we in the team understand the client wants. Okay, and we're on. Okay, so this is now where your knowledge comes in, knowledge from this program, but also knowledge that you may already have, and this is where, you know, the academic part comes in. So everything that we do must have an intellectual basis, and all of you know this. So we don't want opinions, we don't want anecdotes, or the anecdote has to be situated within a robust intellectual framework. Okay, so this is it's a not-for-profit, but within a business context. Yeah, a not-for-profit, because, you know, they are going to be competing, or they are competing with other providers, and this is all part of it. So you need. So what is the theory that we are going to use? Okay, to address this problem, or this research question. So ideally it should be situated within the leadership team, the innovation team, or the strategy team. Okay, and it could also overlap, but if it overlaps, it can be challenging. So then you have to be very skilled in knowing how those theories correlate or integrate. Good to have one, let's say it's a strategy leading, let's say, leading from strategy to operation, 608, which Venkat did last year. This year, Nick is going to do it. Or rethinking market and consumers could also be, an innovation part, as part of an innovation. Bruno and Santosh, creating value for organizations could be so situated in a discipline, which then gives you a handle of the theories that you need to use. Okay, so in this case, how to grow, increase the revenue. Okay, a good product, but not selling as well as it should be. So we don't want to discard the product. How can we market this better? Okay, so SCQ, and as you do the research, you should get the answer, which is your recommendation. Okay, could be one, could be so this is where you have a recommendation that is theoretically sound. The client's not interested in it. Okay, then you say no problem. Here's recommend. You know, it will happen. Let's say your proposal challenges the political economy of Cambodia. You bet your client is going to say, no, Paul, thank you very much. Oh, okay, this is great. Tell me another way, or another way to do it. Okay. I actually have a case where I used to work for a non-profit in Malaysia, working with small farmers, and we had this Dutch basically the farmers, this huge Dutch Farmers Association, which is part of the, so Nestle is owned by farmers. Monica will know this. So they had provided some support to small farmers in Southeast Asia, and they came to visit, and we took them to this group of, so they grew ornamental fish, which they then exported to Japan and so forth. And they were exporting it through middlemen. So these two very nice Dutch farmers who had, and I had visited them when I went to Holland, huge farms, all mechanized. One is in horticulture and one is in livestock milk production. So they came and said, oh, why are you using the middleman? Why don't you just, directly sell to Japan, create new channels? And these farmers were like, just couldn't believe it. So then when we went back, they said, why they didn't, they didn't like what we were saying. So then we told them, look, the gangsters are the one who sell the products to Japan. You want to bypass them at the risk. So it's organized crime that, so these are farmers that do not have, so they operate on temporary occupied land, which the government gives them for short periods of time. They're not sort of well educated. They make good money, but they need to sell through the organized crime network. So that could be a situation in Cambodia. I'm not saying anything about Cambodia, but sometimes your theoretical analysis might not jive so well with realities on the ground. So just be prepared for this.
I think the political volatility of that place is something we have to be very mindful of.
Yeah. This in particular, and that's why I'm really excited about this case, this project. So just be prepared for that. You have your academic work, which we want to be as robust as possible, including perhaps including the political economy of the market and so forth, which you certainly can. And I know in Bruno's unit and Santosh unit, they also talked about sort of the politics in an organization, but you can also expand this to politics of the market and so forth. All right. Cool. So again, this is an example, a very simple example to show it's important to show the causality, all right, of everything that you're doing. And we start with open questions. Okay, so this is, so the business theory, sales times price equals to revenue. So you can either ensure revenue is higher than cost, increase in profit, so you increase revenue, maintain cost, or decrease cost, maintain revenue, whichever way you want to permit, or even increase revenue, reduce cost. Okay, so that's like the basics. So we are asking questions, open questions. All right. We provide some, so the hypothesis, we get the data, we validate the approach. If it is fine, yep, and then you're okay. You don't need to go in a circle. But if it's not, then again the process continues until, okay, this is, then from a circle it becomes the pyramid. Okay, so revenue can come through increase in sales. So same price, but you increase sales, or you can also increase price if you think that's a strategy. And then what would be impact? So what impacts sales? Customers, competition, what impacts price? Regulation, what else? you can fill that up. But the important thing here for sort of to understand is there is a connection. Okay, there is a causality to everything that you are saying. Okay, this was the big question: how to increase revenue. Revenue comes from sales, increase of sales, or you could even increase price. What impacts sales? What impacts price? Or what influences sales? What influences price? Okay, and then okay, now we go to greater detail. So this again is a recommended approach. If you have another approach, if your academic advisor says that's fine, all good with me. And this is where we ask you to demonstrate that you know the literature, you know, you have a grasp of the literature. Okay, so one thing I've noticed is often there is insufficient review of the literature. You know, you don't need to do an extensive literature review, but you do need to be able to situate what you're trying to do within the literature. So if it's a strategy, a market entry strategy, opening a new factory in Dhaka, a Chinese company opening, all these are real past projects. Chinese textile company, a fabric company, opening a new plant in Dhaka. Primary concern because of US sanctions on China. So they need a new location where the US would not be able to disrupt the supply chain. So this is the literature around this issue is well established. So are you able to say a few words based on what's already being said? So it demonstrates that you know this area. Okay, and then you are situating your work on top of this. So this is good scholarly practice. In fact, it is par for the course. So Isaac Newton and Western philosophy, we sit on the shoulders of giants. That's why we are big on citation, because really we create new knowledge by standing on the knowledge created by others. You know, otherwise it's plagiarism or stealing, basically. Something, you know, doing quote. You are saying something or taking something that is not yours. Okay, so when you produce something, show where it came from, or what was the basis. And that's how we create new knowledge. So a literature review, a brief one, 2, 3 of some of the class, maybe one classic, one most recent, it is fine, just to be able to say, yep, I know what I'm talking about. Okay. So define the questions. So what is the question and the sub questions? So all this, you know, so question, big question, sub questions. Okay, and you're finding the answer. Okay. So the given, where are we now? Where is this organization in Cambodia now? What's the market like now? What's the target? What was the existing business model, or what can be the potential, or what is the target? Therefore, what business model would be appropriate? Okay, and then we are finding ways to reach that target. Now, be careful that you scope your project, because if not, it can be unwieldy. So you can even do things like this would require us to look at 3 different areas, but given time constraint, we will focus on this one area because we believe this is the most important area. So, for example, we're not going to look at the political economy of Cambodia. We're just going to look at the marketing or the sales or the business model around selling the product. Then they can figure out what next. So then there's always limitations in whatever we do. We will never have enough time and resources to find the perfect answer. So then, yep, collect the data. Could be desktop, could be surveys. And this is where your research methodology is very important. If you're doing survey, it's not just a matter of creating 50 questions, who you're interviewing, all of this. Okay, this is where your academic advisor will be most useful, because your research approach must be sound, must be robust. And I was observing one group discussion where they came up with a survey, and thankfully the academic advisor is knowledgeable and said, "No, that's not how you do a survey. That you can't do a survey that way." So again, what's the literature around doing research, focus group research? What's the literature around it? What's the best practice around it? Who should you interview in a focus group? So the literature on the research question and literature around the methodology are required, minimum, okay, just to be able to situate your approach. Okay, then analyze. So the improvement is your recommendation. C perhaps not necessary, but you can recommend to say this is how you could potentially measure, should you implement these recommendations. These are potential ways to measure the performance of the recommendation. Okay, so DMAI, C, you don't have to, if you're doing if you have enough time, you can have a pilot, just try something, and then that could be C. Okay, it's not necessary, but if you can, fantastic. Because what we're looking for is just recommendations, okay? So as an example, how to increase demand, change the product, lower the price, have we marketed it properly? Part of marketing. Desmond will be an expert in all of this, how to market. So how do we increase demand for the product? Should we change the product or improve the product? Or if the product is already good, is it about the price? So all this will come from your theory. Or if the product and the price is right, have we marketed it sufficiently? And then depending on the product type, is the location correct? Which could also include now online sales. All the supermarkets are record, or in fact, every business is recording increase in online sales. Coles and Woolies in Perth have literally refurbished their outlets to allow for more pickups, parking, run-in pickup, trucks come in, less shelf space, more for online. So by asking these questions, open questions, you get the answer, or you create, then from those big 4 questions, now 4 is a lot, you probably need 2, 3. 4, I don't mind. I mean, you have 9,000 words, but 2 or 3 is also fine. Okay, don't need to follow this. Okay, and then for each of it, okay, how are we going to answer that question? Okay, so should we change the product offering? Yep. Okay, how are we going to do it? Perhaps market research, value analysis. Can we lower the price? Okay, cost analysis. Is there sufficient marketing? What's the industry standard? what's the company standard on this type of products? Are there benchmarks around products like this? Okay. Are the sales locations correct? Okay, point of sales. Is there industry standard point of sales? So from the big question, then we answer the question, and from that, okay, you get your analysis. Okay, so you get your analysis and your answer, and so once you answer this, then the pivot. So then H1 now becomes towards the end, when you go to demonstrate, it's now the answer, SCQA. Your research is SCQ. When you find the answer to your research question and sub-questions, then when you present, it becomes A, SCQA. Okay, so then now it's no longer the question, but now you already have the answers. Okay, and once you have the answers, you can present. And yeah, we have a particular approach. Again, this is the recommendation. It helps focus your presentation. If you want to do it differently, it's fine as long as you can show causality. That's all an examiner is looking for. Can you show the causality? This is where the rubric comes in. This approach meets the rubrics well, in my view. Okay, so you're now just writing it up. So a particular challenge for the group is who should do what. Okay, so if you have so the examiner looks at all 4 individual essays. Okay, so if an examiner sees the same information, so this is for assessment 1. If the examiner sees the same information being presented in all 4, he or she won't penalize you, but you've lost word count presenting the same information. So the groups that are better organized they will say, so there will be the lead essay that will say this or team member 1 is doing this, team member 2 is doing this, team member 3 is doing this, team member 4 is doing that. All right, so they have a good illustration that captures who is doing what and how it matches the research framework. Okay, one person does the overview of the question, or it's even possible to have an annex which says this is an overview of the organization. Okay, and then in the research is just more around the situation that the organization is facing. Okay, and then here at the annex, this is more that you need to know about the organization. So you're being very economical, presenting the most relevant information to the examiner. Okay, and then the complication, the question. So you already have this in your proposal. So now you flesh it out further. Okay, yeah, this is sort of the why or what makes this pyramid principle sort of a superior approach to other approaches. Just, in my view, the importance of causality. So now, so this will be your final presentation, assessment 3. Will be your final presentation, and it can mirror, it can mirror your final report. Okay, you don't have to, but it can. So, and this is basically, if you use the, let's take Paul, Monica, and Sanjay's group. So, new business model for organization A to increase revenue. Okay, I'm just saying, just thinking out loud. So at this stage, you already found the answer. Okay, so it could be, I don't know, increase location where service is provided. What else? Paul, you're the expert here. How do we, can you, do you mind, okay, wait, let me see how much more do I have to go. Ooh, oh, it's the same thing, just flashing it out. Okay, so let's hold the discussion. It's 8:09. I just complete this to just complete it, and I'll do this quickly. So all the discussion we just had earlier, you're now presenting it. That's all. All of this that we did, all of this final part is how to present it. That's all. And the sort of the important thing is how do you correlate it to the final report and correlate it to who is doing what. Okay. So, yep. So the important thing here is don't conflate the causality. If increased location, don't have one of the factors for increased location under another topic. Okay, and make sure, so this one is contained, and this is separate from this and separate from this, and this three is sufficient to answer your question. Okay, so there could be 7 different reasons or ways to, or 7 facets to the business model, but this 3 is sufficient to get the job done. Okay, because 1, we just don't have enough time to look at all 7. 2, for a business that wants to change or improve its services, that big bang approach where you change everything perhaps is not going to work. What are the 2 or 3 most important things that we have to focus on? So if you can help identify the 2 or 3 most important things to focus on, that you've done your job. Probably easier for the organization to make that change. Okay. So, yeah, summarize and order logically your supporting arguments. Okay. Yeah, so this just synthesizing what we said earlier. Collectively exhaustive. So these are, if you've answered these 3 questions, you've answered 90%, 80% of the issues. Okay, and to answer each of the questions, these 3 points answers 70 or 80% of those of the answers. Yeah, there might be an an anomaly could happen, but look, those are the limitations of this research. Okay, so you're scoping yourself so that marginal utility. After a certain point, trying to get that additional information is just not worth it. Okay, you have to expend so much of time to find that additional information that's not really going to fundamentally alter your general argument. So don't bother. Okay, same point again. Yeah, and so this is, part of your DMAIC, how your decision-making framework. Like, how do you decide which are the 3 most important questions? And then how do you decide what are the 3 most important things to answer each of that question? So all of this comes from your research framework. And those who have done scenario planning, but also the international immersion or if you've done Nick's unit, it's like, he has put enough pressure on you guys to be, you should know, okay, this is the only information that is needed. All right. So how do you come to that? So what's the process? What's the research process that you're doing, using to identify it? So here are some examples. None of this is set in stone. Okay, these are just examples. Okay, so once you have all the answers, okay, it's logical. Everything, like, it's a loop. There is no loose ends. Itself. So I always say, if you have this one up front, and self-explanatory, you've done a damn good job. Okay, then especially if you're presenting it to the boss, fantastic. Okay, where's that 1,000 or 500 word brief? Fantastic. I know what I need to know. Well done. Okay, get somebody to read the full report to find out the details. Again, just further elaboration of the points. Okay. Now, all of you, I think, or certainly Monica's group, you've already gone on to Curator. So there is resource. I will update. I'm going to update some for this trimester, but it won't alter fundamentally. So there are research resources that you can use. So the big, it's the big debate, not only in this unit, but sort of philosophically, is it inductive or deductive? So inductive would be Paul, Monica, Sanjay, and May going to Cambodia, staying for 6 months, trying to understand what's the real situation here. Okay. And then looking at the data from the ground up, finding the answer from the ground up. Okay. And the other way is deductive, which is most often what we do. Okay, so we have a framework, and we use that research framework to answer, so that the causality is there. Now, inductive, it's not a case of which is better than the other. Inductive could be, the famous example, if I take out a penny 3 times and they're all 10 cents, or it's a penny each time, and there are a lot of other shillings in the bag, am I certain that all other shillings in the bag are also a penny? So because you're at the ground, are you able to abstract correctly what you see? So that has been sort of a critique, but the converse is, can somebody sitting in Canberra understand what's happening in Afghanistan? So that gone native versus somebody at home office saying, this is what Afghanistan needs. And then 3 million or $3 trillion later, 20 years later, oh no, this is not what Afghanistan needs. I'm being facetious. But so this is basically the sort of both have its place, inductive and deductive. So which approach do you use? So a few lines around what approach that you are using, and all of this will be in your research methodology. Okay, so my preference is deductive. Okay, because you can show causality quite clearly, and you can be challenged, and the parameters are quite clear. Okay, so when you're challenged, you're able to say, okay, yep, you're right, I missed this point. Okay, what can I do about it? Or no, you're incorrect because you did not interpret or the theory correctly or the data correctly. Okay. Yeah. This is same, yeah. So this is a deductive approach, which we will use, or I recommend we use. This is an inductive approach. Okay, the link between conclusions and the statements not always obvious. Okay. So, this classic case which I just observed, this project where our team did a fantastic job, in my view, clearly recommending to this client with all the data what should be done, or what is a good way to increase his sales or profits. But the owner of the company basically said no. Or he said, what if I don't accept it and I want to do this? And our team explained, look, it's a very small part of your current revenue stream. There are already big players in this, and it's also not a big part of Singapore's, so the Singapore market around the use of carpets, in different type of carpets. But the guy said, no, this is my interest. Okay, so he probably, he's an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, so you got to respect his views. So, but that's inductive. Okay, I just have this gut feeling based on my 20-year experience of being successful in the carpet industry in Singapore. This is the future. But the data doesn't show any of that. Too bad. So, a good consultant project will take into consideration especially if he's the client, view of the situation. What is the famous joke about Afghanistan? The Americans have the watches, the Afghans have the time. Yep, stay as long as you want. No problem, we'll still be around. So, and template below can be used to summarize your answer. So when you present, so you'll have this one slide, and then the following slides are, I'm a big fan of illustrations, charts, tables. So it's good. Okay, so how would this translate into a preliminary report? So here are some guide. So, be able to identify which team member is doing what. Here are some signposting that I recommend that you have. Okay, so this is for A1. You won't. It's good if you have this. You're not going to present it, but it could, if you have this in the lead person's, or if this illustration is in every person's report as an annex, So you've helped the examiner understand what each member is doing. Okay. So that's why from the pyramid to the report. The pyramid is your guide. The report is your write-up of the pyramid. And then similar for the final report. So this one you will present. So this is what goes to a version of this. So in the case where if you have a client who don't want some things presented or want additional things presented, could be it. But the pyramid helps you to keep your research in focus. And it helps the examiner understand the argument that you're making, so that they can see the causality. Okay. So the big sort of difference is in A1, different team members will be doing different parts. They are your preliminary findings. You know, if you find conclusion in your A1, say, interesting. Okay. And then A2 is a group work, which you would summarize, synthesize some of the preliminary findings, which then provides you with all of this. Okay, more in depth or more detailed. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Goodness me, 8:30. Okay, let's have a chat now. Okay, first, any questions or clarification? All good? Okay, that's fine.
Greg, where will you put this slide deck?
So when the LMS unit has opened up, okay, number one, I will send it all to you. That's a good point. I'll email it all to you. But two, I will put it up in LMS for 639 for this trimester. And I will also put it up in Curator also, and with the video recording. Okay, so I'll put it in LMS and Curator so that I don't miss anyone. Okay, good point. So perhaps for Desmond, okay, and yeah, if anyone needs to leave, Sanjay, I know it's probably what, feel free. But perhaps to help Desmond, William, Shane, and Reese, Sanjay, Monica, and Paul, you guys are quite advanced. What do you think Desmond, William, Shane, and Reese, and Tex should be doing now?
I'm happy to jump in.
Yes,
I mean it's pretty much looking at who you think you might want to work with, where those connections are already, and start to identify. I mean, we've just done the leadership units, so what are your strengths? Document what are your strengths? What value do you bring to the group? And then I know Paul can speak around the selection of a client.
Yeah. I think that's probably the key thing. Maybe I think we started to have the discussion of, I certainly was chasing the client early, and I think because I'm also having that fascination with, I've got 3 diverse colleagues in my team who bring such different perspectives to an industry that I'm closer to, and so I think having their support in going to something that's a little closer to my industry, but knowing that they can apply their skills to it. So I think finding that client early and agreeing that you all have an interest in investing in that client. So May, Monica, and Sanjay was all very clear early on. Yeah, we're happy to follow that. that thread. And I would say that they didn't come back for a long time. So at one point, I had to go through a few different channels to try and get their attention. And at one point, we thought that maybe we weren't going to get that attention, but it came good eventually, and they ended up giving us some good time and have set us up with some good documentation as well. So I think having that long lead in for your client is quite important.
And Paul, this is interesting because you actually, can I assume that you didn't have a relationship with this organization prior to this this project?
No, only as a customer.
Okay, so this now big risk but big payoff, I hope, because it is risky if there are no ties that bind. Because if they walk away, they might, they're not going to lose anything. Who's Paul? I don't know him. So, so good on you, Paul, for pursuing this. I'm really excited about this project. If you not much of a if you don't want to take risk, connect with someone who is close to you and who will not walk away. So the other projects are people that they know the individual well, the CEO or the chief marketing officer, or someone senior who they know well and who could make the case for them, so a good relationship is important. Okay, so even in the case where this SME, where the CEO basically rubbished the work, that it was actually, they're all friends, but I don't know, maybe he didn't like something, but the thing is, he gave them time, he gave them data can be really sensitive. So you need someone senior who is able to say, yep, I'm happy for them to look at my numbers, my organization's numbers. So yeah, so if you have a friend who is in a senior position, that could be a starting point. It could be your own organization also. Many projects were also within an organization where the student was working in, so that's also fine. Okay, but Paul shows that you can also go in search of something that you're passionate about. Okay, so Monica says, be strategic, be quick, make sure you get a team early on. So in the units, demonstrate leadership. So that people want to be in your team. Now the research framework, yeah, this will be a challenge. So that's why it's important that you've done some units. Okay, 6, not to be precise, at least 6, because there is a scholarly approach to doing research, and you must be familiar with it. Otherwise, you will struggle in this unit, because this is 9,000 word is a master's research, almost a master's research. Okay, so not completely, but almost. So you got to be very strong in your research approach to do this unit. And on Curator, there are resources that is recommended for you to practice. And also Murdoch University has academic skills online that you can work on to develop your skills. Okay. And Sanjay, Monica, Paul, anything else you would like to share with Desmond, William, Tex, Reese, and Shane?
No, I think my only addition is you've got to be very organized. be organized, plan, and Yes, and I think the other thing, like within our group, we've almost got like a rules of engagement. So we're quite happy to call things out if we need to, and know that it's come from a good place, which I think is really important. So if I'm hounding Paul, for example, I know he'll take it well. But no, just joking. That's, you know, it's good to have some good collaboration amongst the team.
And I know this is good leaders, you know, they politely remind you of deadlines. I love it when Monica sends me emails. Greg, not Monica, Greg. Paul, you guys have, honestly, there was, I think in the first 1 or 2 cohorts where like got some real brutal emails, but you guys have been wonderful. So I guess there's a message going around like, yeah, write to Greg but write it nicely. He'll eventually respond. So yeah, but honestly, if you can't do this to your teammates, and to know that it comes from a place of trust, it's not out to. It becomes toxic when, yeah. So we've had 2 or 3 groups. Yeah, chemistry is important in the first instance, I would say. You don't have chemistry, if all goes smoothly, okay. But if it doesn't, and yeah, I've seen 2 or 3 groups, not so well. So yeah, I guess, yeah, make friends very quickly and get your teams and be organized. Okay. Any other comments or last questions?
The only other thing I'd add, Greg, there, just on extending on what Monica was saying. So as you go through the course, you realize that each of the subjects has 2 or 3 key readings in the 30 or so that you do. I think it's important to understand and have those back to front, because they have a lot of reflection and insight onto the subsequent courses that you'll be doing, and they're the readings that you tend to rely on quite significantly, and I have no doubt readings that we'll rely on significantly as a part of this course as well. And so my tip, I suppose, in all of that for the people who will be doing Capstone is to make sure you identify what those 2 or 3 key readings are, because the lecturers will always be talking about those regardless of what week of the course or what day of the course you're in, and make sure you know those back to front.
Yeah. Thanks, Sanjay. That's a very good intervention. Yeah, every lecturer has a pet theory or a pet that they like to. Good point. Good point. All right.
I might just say, Tex, I know this might have been a bit overwhelming on your first webinar here. Reach out to any one of us when you start, or if there's anything that we can help with, go for your life.
Thanks, Monica. So yeah, good point. We're always on emails. Feel free to ask. And just as I said at the orientation, so first do a bit yourself. A good leader tries out first, but don't kill yourself. If you're struggling, you got peers. If not your peers, yeah, reach out to the unit coordinator. We don't want anyone to suffer. But at the same time, this is a leadership program. So finding that right balance of what a good leader would do in a situation. This is a trial run of all of that. Yeah. All right, gentlemen, ladies, or lady, good to see all of you again, and welcome to Trimester 3. And for Monica and team, welcome to MBS639. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Good night, everyone. Yep, I'll put this all up very soon.
Night.
Right.
Good night.
Cheers.
Thank you, Greg. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Greg. Nice to see you, everyone.
See you too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.